So our next speaker perhaps needs no introduction. This is Wayne Stambaugh. He is the project lead for KiCad. He has been using KiCad for longer than our youngest users have been alive. We have very young users. So Wayne is gracious enough to be giving two talks. Our talk today is going to be on reporting bugs, so how you get things fixed, and his talk tomorrow, which you should also be looking forward to, is on the general state of KiCad. So please give a warm welcome to Wayne Stambaugh.
Thank you, and thanks a lot for attending the second annual KiCon Europe. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new faces here as well. So you're probably wondering, you know, why cover a mundane topic like how to report bugs? Well, I've been at this for a while now as a developer, and now as the lead developer of KiCad. And one of the things that you see a lot of recurring patterns in the issue tracker for KiCad, and so I wanted to, like, this has been on my list for a long time to do. I just finally had a venue to do it for the first time, so we'll see how it goes. The bug tracking is important because it improves the life of you as the user and the life of the development team. We try to maximize our cooperation with each other. Good bug reporting is important, so I'm going to try to do my best to cover the most common use cases. But before we get too far, I'd like to talk a little bit about the philosophy of KiCad, because I think that's important when it comes to bug reporting. And this text right here that you see is literally copied directly from our mission statement, and this is the mission statement of the KiCad project, and it's to provide the best possible cross-platform electronics design application for professional electronics designer. In other words, if you get up every day and go to work and you design electronics for a living, that's KiCad's ultimate goal. And the reason we kind of had that goal is most of the members of the dev team are double E's by trade. So it's not a coincidence that we're trying to provide the best tool. Now, we don't want, as you can read here later, we want to make it open for everybody, but this is the end goal of the mission of KiCad, and so that's why the bug reporting is important. Secondly, we're a community, and by community, I don't just mean the community, the dev team, and the librarians, and the community is everybody. Everybody who uses KiCad, provides plugins, works on KiCad. We all have to work together to provide the best possible experience. And this one I'm going to probably come back to. I'll probably sound like a broken record, but everybody's time is important, right? We all have it's a finite, whether we like it or not. We all have a finite amount of time. And so we like to be as efficient as possible to get as much done as possible in the minimal amount of time. And so this is why the bug reporting is important. So before we can file any bugs, there's a few things we have to do up front. If you don't have a GitLab account, you have to create one. Love or hate GitLab, that's our code hosting service, and they provide us our issue tracker. So you have to create an account. Doesn't cost anything. You can just get the free tier. You're probably never going to have your own private repos unless you're working on KiCad. It's just for filing bugs. Second important thing to remember is KiCad is not just one thing. KiCad's a lot of things. There's the source. There's a whole series of repositories that you would file issues against. Most people will file issues for KiCad proper, the software itself. But if you find a symbol that's wrong or a footprint that's wrong, those would be under the KiCad libraries. If you find an issue with the website, like a broken link or something, that would be under the web services. And you can see here, this is when you go to the KiCad main site, you'll see this list of folders with repositories in them. So make sure when you file your bug report, you file it in the right place, because if you don't, yes, somebody will triage it and move it to the correct repo, but back to that time thing, that's time for somebody to move it to the correct repo. So make sure when you're filing bugs against KiCad, you get the right repository and file the issue in that repository. Here's another thing, if you love or hate it, the GitLab issue tracker uses Markdown. So for those of you who don't know what Markdown is, almost all of you are familiar with markup. So markup languages are the greater than and less than signs with the tags in between, the opening and closing tags. Markdown is a rejection of that, aptly named Markdown, which if you've ever had to write any kind of HTML or any other markup languages manually, it's not a very easy to look at in plain text. Markdown is what they use for it's a shorthand notation. So here's a couple examples. In the top, if you want to create a bulleted list, you just do it like, so you look at the top there in the gray, and then that's how it renders what it looks like that. Headings are the same way. You just use the hashtag, and the one level's one hashtag, second level's two hashtags. This way here you don't have to do any fancy HTML tags to get to the the H1, H2, H3. That automatically happens in Markdown. And so if you look at the there's a link directly to the GitLab document, their Markdown documentation. So it's kind of important. So when you're looking at the template, when you get to the point where you're filling out your first bug report, you see stuff like this in there, you know what it is, so you don't accidentally delete it or remove it or whatever. So understanding Markdown is kind of important when you're filing bugs in KiCad. So we're gonna, for this example, getting started, you're gonna report your first issue. So in this case, I'm filing a bug report against the KiCad source code. I think I found a bug, or I got a crash or whatever, something doesn't work the way I think it should work. You go to the source repo, and on the left-hand side, you'll have this pane, and you'll see issues. And then in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a create new issue button. So you click that, and you're going to see a pane inside of the place where you edit your information. You're going to see this is exactly what you're going to see, this text right here. Now you notice at the top, you'll see the typical Markdown as the less than sign with the exclamation point. And then at the end, you'll see two dashes and then the closing. Everything in between those two tags is a comment. They won't show up in your rendered, in your bug report. In other words, what will be visible to the user will be gone. Those comments are there as information for you when you're filling out your bug report. And as you can see, we've kept them to very brief, minimum, single line statements. And things that are important is, so issues or bug reports should be limited to a single issue. Maybe you have multiple bugs, but you should file them as individual reports, because the tracker, we can only close a single bug. So let's say I fix a bug and I have there's automatic close statements that GitLab handles in the git commit messages that will automatically close these once they're fixed. If you have multiple issues, then we have to go through and reopen it and then close it again and then reopen. For every open issue we have to keep, and that's a time sink. So it's important that it's a single bug per report. We also tell you that all the instructions in your text should be between the comment markers. That's there. You don't need to remove the comments. You can just leave it there. You should keep the report contents limited to the necessary information, and that's really, really important. Any extraneous information is something that somebody has to parse and go, I don't need to know that. So stick to the facts and be precise as possible when creating bug reports. If you don't have the latest stable version, there's a lot of times bugs have already been fixed. For stable versions, the bugs probably, if it's a serious bug, it's usually fixed pretty quick. So that means it'll be available in testing builds within 24 hours after the commit's pushed to the repository. So before you find a problem, you need to, you should check the latest. Like if you're running 8.0.4 and 8.0.5 just came out, and you make sure it's still a problem in 8.0.5 before you file a bug report. Because otherwise somebody has to go, oh yeah, we fixed that, closes it. There's a lot of manual processing required to fix bugs that have already been fixed. So some of the things you might want to include in your bug report is, if it's a behavioral issue, it didn't work the way I thought it to, you should say, here's what it did, and here's what I thought it should do. In the steps to reproduce, you notice there's a numbered list, right? They should be brief, but they should be precise. So make sure that you fill out. So you'll notice there's a hash that says, there's a first hash that says description. Below the comment on the description, that's where you fill out your description of your report. And you be brief. As much as I like Shakespearean prose, I don't want to read it in my bug reports. I want it to be the minimal amount of information you need to convey what the problem is. Steps to reproduce, same thing. Should be just the minimum number of steps. It's important to get them right and the order of them right, because it may be, I can't reproduce it. We'll get to that later. Now, one of the most common things that people get wrong, you notice the bottom there, it says KiCad version, and there's 2 sets of triple backticks. In between those triple backticks, you need to copy the version info, and I'll talk a little bit about that, how you get that and paste it in there. Do not remove the triple backticks, because everything that isn't between triple backticks, HTML, it will be formatted like HTML, so just like a paragraph. So all the all the individual lines, because the version information is formatted with indentation and whatnot, that'll all go away if you don't have the triple backticks there. It would just look like one long paragraph of information. So make sure you get there. So how do you get the version information? Well, we've made it pretty easy in KiCad. You go to the Help About dialog. You'll see in the upper right-hand corner of that dialog, there's a checkbox, or there's a box that says Copy Version Info. That will literally copy all the text that you need to paste between the triple backticks into the clipboard. You hit Copy, you go back, paste it into your documentation, and everything will work good. Same with titles. Titles should be brief. And, you don't make your title like a paragraph. It should be 75, 80 characters. If you have to do more than that, you're probably overthinking it. Just keep it simple, exactly what the problem is. So one thing you should do, as you're typing your new title in, right? So here I've typed in some schematic editor crashes when dragging. Notice if there are any bug reports or issue reports that have a title that's close to that, GitLab will give you a list of potential bug reports that match that. Take a look, because it may have already been reported. So don't let, once again, report. If you make a duplicate, somebody will say it's a duplicate, mark it as a duplicate, and point to the original bug report, but that's somebody's time. So it's easy to check. As you're typing in the title, you're going to see this filtered list of potential bug reports. Double check there and see if there's somebody's already. If you see one that's the same as yours and maybe it hasn't been fixed yet because we can't duplicate it, maybe you can add a comment in the original bug report as to how you reproduced it. So try to minimize the number of duplicate bug reports. It's kind of important. So the issue description, here's one that's real brief. It says, when updating a PCB from a schematic, results in copper zone on layer X, which is the XY coordinates, has no pad. So it's a warning that you got, and it doesn't reflect. It says the axis is inversion. It doesn't follow in KiCad. You can swap the axes to go in different directions at both the X and the Y axis. So this was a bug report where that wasn't getting updated. The coordinates were wrong. So when you went to that coordinates to look, it was in the opposite direction. So be brief. It should be something simple, a simple single paragraph. You don't need to include your opinions or the sucks or any of that stuff. That's not help. That's not helpful. I agree, bugs suck, but that's not helpful information. None of that helps me fix the bug. So stick to what you need, to what the developers need to know, to where to look for the bug. Steps to reproduce. They should be short, one-liners, almost like a bullet, like think of it as a presentation, one-line bullets. It should be quick and easy, but be precise, because there's a lot of, don't say, here's an example. I saved the board and it crashed. Well, how did you save it? There's like at least 3 ways I know to save in KiCad. You can hit the save button in the toolbar, you can hit Control S, or you can go to the menu and hit save. Now, eventually all 3 of those code paths get to the save code, but the code paths between there and the save are different. So maybe the crash was there. So when you don't use generic terms like I saved or I moved. Well, how did you move? Because there's a lot of different ways to move an object in KiCad. You can grab it and drag it. You can hit the M key. You can right-click context menu and and then move it. So make sure be precise when you give the steps, the precise steps that you took. It's real important, because it's easy to say, well, I moved. Well, if I say you did a drag move, and I go to move it with the M key and it works, I can't get it to do that. Well, now I got to come back to you and say, well, how did you do that, right? That information up front saves me, the development team, time from having to ask you, well, how did you do that, right? So precision matters. So there's lots of other additional information. So in this case, here's an example where a table was imported from a third-party EDA tool, and it didn't let, obviously, clearly the alignment was wrong. Screen captures are worth 1,000 words, right? If it's something obvious like that, take a screenshot, paste it into your bug report. It's good information. Of course it's not going to show. Why is it not playing? They're supposed to be, there it goes. So here's an example of sometimes a static screenshot isn't going to be enough information. Here's one where the routing, if you watch this play out, the routing ends up dropping the last segment. So by providing exactly what they did to get it to, see there, it dropped the last segment. So by providing that to the development team, rather than trying to have a bunch of descriptions of how you drew that, provide a screen capture. It's very, very handy. So that's a useful thing, especially when you're doing things like with complex routing or real-time moving or anything that's an active kind of situation. Sometimes it's project dependent. Maybe I open up one of the KiCad demos and I run your examples and it doesn't work. It's like, I can't get it to crash. Oh, okay. Well, or I can't get that bug to trigger. So what do I need to do? So maybe it's very much your project. Maybe you have a custom footprint or symbol that just is a corner case. Then we might ask you it might not be a bad idea to upload your project. You can do that by going into the main KiCad window, file archive, that'll archive all the projects or all the files in your project, and then you can upload the zip file to the bug track to your issue, and then the team has the project that you actually use to trigger that issue. So once you have all that information in your bug report, then you hit submit. Now, if you look at above the create issue button here, there's a whole bunch of options. If you don't know what they're for, it's best not to just do anything. Those settings are usually triaged by the bug squad or the members of the development team. If you do, like sometimes you can, if you know the labels, like it's EE schema or it's PCB new or it happens in 8.0, but it's not necessary for you to add any information other than the actual report itself. Oh, what happened there? I lost the dreaded bot. Okay, if you've if you've filed a bug report and got it wrong, you've seen an email, you've gotten an email back that looks like what's below the angry bot. And the bot doesn't exist to make your life miserable, although it sometimes, I know it seems that way. What the bot does is we have some scripts early on when we were still back in Subversion and then Bazaar on Launchpad, as the project's grown and we've changed code hosting tools over the years. There was a common theme. Almost without fail, probably, 1 in 3? At least a third of the bug reports would be missing even though the template hasn't changed in God forever. We've had the same pretty much template. People would just forget to include, and then, we were constantly, hey, can you paste the version information in your bug report so we know what version it is, because it may have already been fixed, right? So now we have a bot that automates some of those kind of common common things that you get wrong in your bug report. So if you look at, don't get mad, don't go out and just try to forcefully reopen it because you're going to lose. The bot doesn't, it can't be reasoned with. It doesn't show pity or compassion. It's going to keep banging you. If you just open it and then you haven't fixed the problem, it's just going to send you another message. It's going to close it and send you another message. But it does at least provide you with some useful information. If you see the little red dot there, it tells you what's missing. It says, you're missing the full version information. Remember, that goes in between the triple backticks. So you just you just go into your issue, you hit edit, you paste that, and then open it again, and then the bot will be happy. So the bot was created as a time saver because the bug squad was spending a lot of time just, hey, you forgot this, hey, you forgot that. It's just the repetitive boilerplate stuff that we expect in our bug reports. So yeah, it happens. Sometimes you get something wrong, or you realize, oh crap, I forgot a step. Maybe you realize that after you created the bug report, I missed a step. So sometimes you have to go back in and edit. So there's an edit button on your report, and you can change everything, including the title, if you got that wrong too. So you can modify things at will. Now, one thing that you might have a problem with is like, hey, this board or this project that I'm working on I can't just make it public, right? So issue reports by default are public to everybody. So that means anybody who's can look through the bug tracker and look at the report, including any attachments you've added to it. So there is a possibility of creating confidential reports. If you go to the very bottom, if you go below the area where you edit where you add your information to the bug report, you'll see there's a checkbox. It says this issue is confidential and should only be visible to the team members with at least reporter access. So that's basically 6 members of bug squad and the dev team, which is a dozen, 15. So it's about 20 people. So that lowers your exposure, and it's not public. Nobody outside the team members that have access to the bug reporting, the issue reporting tool can view it. That being said, sometimes that's not enough. You work for a commercial company and you need NDA support. There's good news and there's bad news about that. The good news is that's why KiCad Services Corporation exists. Bad news, that's not a free service because providing NDA support requires a legal entity, and legal entity costs money. And being a legal entity, so the KiCad project is not a legal entity. It's just a group of volunteers and who work on KiCad proper, but there's no legal authority to be able to sign an NDA. Like me as a KiCad developer, I can't sign an NDA for you. I'm not a legally binding organization. KiCad Services, that was one of the reasons why KiCad Services Corporation exists, is for those types of things. So if you do need that, if you have a bug that you just have to get fixed, then that's what KiCad Services Corporation exists for. So I'm done with that shameless plug now. But settings files. Sometimes sometimes a bug is settings dependent, right? I'm not going to ask you to show me every screenshot of all your preferences. I mean, that's dozens of dialogues. What you can do is you can make a copy of your settings folder and include that if it's settings related. Somebody might ask you for that. Where do you find them? Well, it's somewhat platform dependent, but it's usually where your configuration goes. On Linux, it's config KiCad, it's home config KiCad. And then you'll notice here I've got versions that go way back. You just zip up that whole folder and then attach it to your, and your settings don't contain any personal information. KiCad doesn't keep that. It's just like, the last place you kept your window, or whether you turn off the mouse warping or not. That sometimes that information affects the behavior. So maybe my setting, I don't use that and I don't see the bug. So settings files are sometimes things that developers will ask for. Crash reports. If you're savvy enough to know where your operating system creates crash reports, they're object dumps. It depends on what they all use slightly different nomenclature, but here's one from an Mac OS is a crash report. Sometimes those can be useful. But you need to know where to look for them, and then you can copy it. They're always plain text. You can upload them to your bug report if you think they're going to be helpful. If you're even a little more savvy, you know how to run a debugger. That's even better. If you can run KiCad in a debugger and get it to crash, well, now we can get a stack trace, right? And if you have the debugging symbols installed on your system, you can get a really nice debugging stack trace. So the level of sophistication here is up to your user, or is up to you as a user. If you're even more savvy and you can build KiCad from source and run it from a build folder, that's like the best thing we can have. That'll give you the full stack information. Usually it's, as soon as I see a stack trace, I'm like, oh, yep, I know what that is. I know right where to go look. So that's good information to have. So if you can provide that, that's even better. Not necessary, but if you can do it, we appreciate the help. Now this one's really arcane. There's actually a tool in the router. We have a lot of subtle corner cases that are really difficult to fix in the router. If you have a custom build of KiCad, so you have to be able to build KiCad from source, you can enable this router tool. And while you're routing, if you go into the router and what's the key combination? Is it 0? You hit the 0 key, it'll start recording every coordinate as you route, right? It'll just create this giant text file. It's just a plain text file. And then when you're done, it'll save it. If you can upload that router file, the router debugging tool, we can replay it. In KiCad has under the hood tools that allow us to replay that file. You have to upload your design, and then we can replay the router, and we can figure out where the router got stuck and why it got stuck. I know that's an advanced topic, but that's something there are some bugs that really we can't almost can't fix without that. Even watching you do a video capture is generally not enough if it's some oddball corner case. So that being said, nothing drives it home like a really good example. And I say consult the Oracle. And I'm not going to, I hate to single out any one person in KiCad, but the gentleman's name is, and I'm sure I'm going to, is it Mayak Freitag? However you say his last name. So Mayak is one of the members of the KiCad bug squad, and his bug reports are the gold standard. I mean, if you want to see how, I say that endearingly because like when I get his bug reports, it's literally 5 minutes to fix something because he does such a good job. He points me right in exactly right direction. I know right where to go. So here's an example. And you can see here from the screenshot, he did a bunch of consecutive screenshots to show what he did and what he was seeing. But what's better is you notice up here he included, it's Net Navigator highlight from PCB zip. He included a minimal sample file. And here I'm going to switch over here to the here it is. Oh, and it's, let me refresh. Oh, I know what happened. I know what happened. Because, oh, maybe I don't. Oh, yeah, no. It's not KiCad. It's because I changed the resolution. So, it is a little, oh, you know what it is? I think it's the presentation. But if you download that, may I put the steps in plain text right in the schematic editor. So I don't even have to go back to the bug report. I'm just like in KiCad following the steps that he added to the KiCad. It's a brilliant idea. So if you click on the link that says consult the Oracle, it's basically, it filters all these bug reports that he submitted. So you can look at them as really good example. Like I said, nothing dries at home like a really good example. So if it's your first bug report and you're a little unsure, what you need to do, take a look at some of his bug reports, and it's really good. They're very good. So maybe you become a bug reporting expert and you realize, hey, I could help out the project. Consider becoming a member of the bug squad. Anytime we have help, triaging, going through bugs, helping where a developer doesn't have to ask for feedback, as we have people that triage, and that takes some of the load off the dev team. It's important if you're interested and it's something you're comfortable with, consider joining the team. At KiCad, we're always open for new members, and if it's something you think you're interested in, we'd be more than happy to discuss having you on the team. So, it's important that we file quality bug reports. It minimizes the time. It does a lot of things. It minimizes your time, it minimizes the developer time, and it minimizes the time amount of time it takes to actually figure out what the bug is and to fix it. So if a good quality bug reporting is a really, I think it's one of the most underappreciated things that you can do for the project. I mean, people just think, well, that's what I should do, but it's important. It's important. If you do it well, it really works well for the project. Overall, it works well for you as a user because the bugs get fixed quicker. It's less time for the dev team, so we can work on new features. There's lots of good reasons why good bug reporting is important. So thank you for using KiCad. Thank you for sitting through this kind of mundane topic, but I appreciate any help that you could give the KiCad project, even if it's just filing better bug reports. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask at this time. Get this off.
If I want to file a bug report over this menu bar, help, bug report or something, this is version information automatically.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is version information automatically inserted into the bug report. So do I still have to do this manually?
Yeah. Yes. The question was, is there a way to do this automatically? Yes, you can. In the help menu, you can say, there's actually a link that says to create an issue report. That will fill out the boilerplate information. That'll include the version information. Unfortunately, it's a stripped down version information because GitLab only lets us upload that we have restrictions on how big that can be, so we have to pare it down. We've actually had to pare that down. So if you generate a bug report that way, as opposed to going in and manually generating it and then doing the copy full version information, you'll notice that the full version information has a lot more information than the stripped down one that we automatically, because they limit us on template size. And so that template that I showed you at the beginning, we upload that automatically with the version string in it, but because, like I said, because GitLab has size limits on what that can be, we've had to pare down some of that information. So it's not quite the same.
In general, if we're about to file in a feature request, I think this is, from what I understood, it's also done majorly via the issue tracker. Should we somehow stick to the very same way to file them in, or is this somehow a diverged process?
No, it's the same process. So issues can be, hey, I don't have this feature. That's an issue. For you, it's an issue, right? So it's the same thing. You need the same information, and then the bug squad will tag it as a new feature. So there's like if you notice, there was a tag section. And if you've ever filed a bug report, you'll see down at the bottom before you click where the button is to create the issue itself, you'll see there's labels. And that will be filled out by the bug squad team. So if we know it's not, hey, I need variant support, which by the way, that's already in there, but there's an example. You need that feature. So what you can do though, we do recommend is if it's already been reported and it's a feature that you want, there's kind of a thumbs up, thumbs down, it's like a voting process. You can say, yeah, I need that too. You just go to the already filed issue report and click the thumbs up. That does carry weight with us. So if it's a one-person feature and nobody else has thumbed it up for 3 years, we're probably not going to put spend a lot of time looking at that. But if it's something that, in the last 6 months, 10 people said, yeah, I'd really like this, that's probably going to get moved up the queue. So there is some, you can ratchet up the visibility of new features if that's something that's important to you. So consider that, because what happens is if you do file, what happens is, let's say you file a duplicate, you didn't see it, or you accidentally missed it. When we close it and link it back to the original report, that doesn't automatically increment the visibility, the visibility counter. It doesn't do that. It just closes out the duplicate report and then just creates a link back to the original report. So yes, it's the same process. It's just, there's no steps. There's a title and there's like maybe a paragraph of a description of what you think this feature should do. So, but yes, the process is the same. Now, one thing I did forget to mention is, well, what happens if I can't even run KiCad? I won't even launch the main window. There is a tag in there that you can set, because obviously you can't get the version info if you can't run KiCad. It's called build error. You can use the build error tag to quiet the bot. However, only use it for that, because you're going to have some unhappy people if you just don't want to fill out the information and you use that tag. You're probably going to get reprimanded for that. That tag exists for 2 reasons. One, you can't run KiCad, and 2, you can't build KiCad. In which case, you're not going to be able to run it and get the information. So there is a tag that quiets that down, but that's only a 2-case scenario. We have
What's the most common pitfall you see with mistake people make in bug reports?
Say it again.
What's the most common mistake you see in bug reports?
Missing version information. That's why that one alone is why the bot exists, because it used to be a daily occurrence, just pinging people back, hey, I need to know what version, and then they give me the version information. I'll be like, oh, we already fixed that. It's really important that it may seem trivial to you, but to the dev team, there's a lot of critical information in that just simple copy paste action. So yeah, that's the single biggest one that I've seen. Can you think of another one, Seth? Yeah.
What I am supposed to do when I came across the issue which is already filed, Should I just throw comment, hey, it happened me too, or use the voting,
Well,
or just leave it alone?
Well, I think the simple answer is that depends. If you look, so what'll happen is, let's say somebody files a bug report, right? One of the first things somebody will do is they'll try to duplicate it. If it says it can't be duplicated, well, maybe the person that filed that either has a different setting, they're running on a different platform. There's lots of reasons why things would not be duplicatable. Maybe it was their specific project and we couldn't duplicate it or whatever. There's lots of reasons. If you have some additional information, hey, it happened to me too on this platform. You can include your build your version information string in your comment. And but the user left out, I had to do this to get it. So it may just be something subtle that the original submitter forgot or didn't do, but you can do it. You can do it 100% of the time. Yeah, that's useful. That's really useful. Like I said, the information has to be new and useful. So if like I said, it's not quite as simple as, you should comment, no, you shouldn't. It should be, look at is there enough information for the current report for somebody to figure out what it is. And we usually do that pretty quickly. Somebody will triage and say, hey, I can't duplicate this. We need more information. And then we'll start asking for things like a sample project, or, how do you have this, what's your snap to cursor setting, or recenter cursor setting, or warp pointer setting, things like that. Then we have to ask another level. But if you have some more information that's not on the original report, you should always include that. It's helpful.
So if I have projects with an older version and a newer version, do you recommend to separate it, let's say in a new, maybe in operating system, or can I use both? Because if I have an older one, open it with a new one, it will be updated. So
it won't be updated until you save it. You can open. So we have a strict policy in KiCad that you can open it, like say you have a version 7 project and you open it with version 8, and they'll say, oh, it's changed. No, it's only changed internally. It hasn't changed on your file system until you hit save. So you can kind of safely ignore those warnings. Hey, this is an old version. When you save, it'll say this is an older version. When you save, it'll be updated to the new version. But if there's any bugs that happen as a result of loading an older version, hopefully there shouldn't be, because one of the things that me as a in another life, when I was designing electronics for a living, I consider it a big no-no to break existing designs. So I know a lot of people have asked us for forward compatibility, like what Altium does, so you can open newer designs. It just will ignore the new stuff. Yeah, that's nice, but to me, the most important thing is absolute 100% fidelity when you open an existing design from like an older version of KiCad. And that should go all the way back. So, yeah, you're safe opening it, just don't save it. Because once you save it, it's going to be in the new format. Now you won't be able to open it with an older version of KiCad.
And can I run older version and the newer version of KiCad on the same system?
You can.
Okay.
Yeah, I have lots of versions of KiCad installed on my computer. At the latest version of probably 6, 7, 8, and master in the development branch. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Wayne.